everyone. Welcome to Autumn is Here. I'm Francine Crawford, your host today. We are talking to Yolonda Brisbane. You may remember her from an earlier broadcast, but she's here to share some more information with you. Welcome to the show, Yolonda.
Hello. Thank you. Good to be back.
So I'm so glad that you're back. And you gave so much information before about dialysis and things like that. And I still want you to just introduce yourself and tell me just a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I come from a family of people with kidney disease, end-stage renal disease. We don't know if it's hereditary or not, but I would think that there is something somewhere in the bloodline. And as a result of my mom being on dialysis for now 17 years, my brother and I had to naturally learn all that we could about dialysis to be a part of her journey and to make her journey as, I would say, successful and pleasant as possible, and to make sure that she still got the best out of life, a quality of life. So with that, we just immersed ourselves in learning all we could to be of support and making sure that we knew her doctors, the folks at the dialysis center, etc. So I now kind of followed in her footsteps, not in regards to kidney disease. I pray that never does happen. But in my work, my professional work, my mom became a patient ambassador with Dialysis Patient Citizens, which is Washington-based. Okay. It's the largest patient-led organization, and the focus is the dialysis patient. So, I did volunteer work with her and would help out here and there. They had an opening about a year ago, and I have since been with them as their grassroots manager. So I'm dealing with dialysis patients, dialysis centers, and so forth across the country. So my work is not only a place of employment, it allows me to live a legacy through my mom and the family and to do something that I'm passionate about. So here I am again.
Awesome. So it's personal and professional. So that's
yeah, and I also do a lot of advocacy. We are primarily a political advocacy organization, but in my private life, I do a lot of advocacy for folks as they need it, whether it's a mother with a child in the school system or whatever it might be. I am one that will roll up her sleeves and help people fight the good fight to get what they need.
Okay. So since we've spoken before, some things have changed in your life. Can you explain some of the things?
Yeah, drastically. Oh boy. The last we spoke, my mom had her foot and then leg amputated, and she did rehab for about 3 months, and she came home. She was home for about 10 months, and she really, I'll say it nicely, she kicked butt that year. She had a prosthetic leg. She went everywhere. She went to Broadway, to the mall. She went to Park, City Island. Her second week home, she was at City Island with her girlfriends, and we were just pretty much kind of stabilizing the household with the adjustment. Mm-hmm. And 10 months in, the day before she went to get fitted for her prosthetic. Well, she went to get fitted for a permanent prosthetic leg on a Monday. Mm-hmm. And Tuesday, she left to go to dialysis, and she never came back home because she suffered a massive stroke while she was at dialysis. It was not a result of dialysis, but that's where it happened. Mm-hmm. So when she left home that morning and we said our so longs and chit-chatted at the table, mm-hmm. I took her out to get a Cessa ride, and the next thing I knew, I got a call from the dialysis center. I thought they were letting me know that perhaps she left something behind and she's already on the Accessorite bus, but they let me know that she suffered a stroke. They didn't know the level, but she was rushed to Coney Island Hospital, and I should go, to the hospital, which I did. Okay. And, I always say in the midst of every storm, if you don't focus on the storm only, you'll see God, because my brother lives upstate in Albany, New York, which is 3 hours away. I didn't know he was surprising my mom and I that day.
Oh, wow.
So when I called to let him know, because we always made a vow to one another, if something should happen, medically or anything else, mm-hmm. we don't keep secrets. My mom was one to keep things in because she didn't want people to worry, but we made a commitment to one another. And I let him know our mom suffered a stroke. I haven't seen her. I don't know much. And he said, where is she? I said, at Coney Island Hospital. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm crossing the Staten Island Bridge. I'll meet you there.
Oh, wow.
So God's timing.
Right.
So he was able to meet me there at the emergency room. Yeah. So that was a good thing.
Okay. Okay. So how is your mom now? How's she progressing now?
Well, it's been a long journey. That was February 21st of this year. And she left Coney Island Hospital. Just for folks who don't know anything about stroke, I don't remember all of the medications, but if it's a major stroke, they have something called a clot buster. There's a medical term for it, but it's a clot buster. So what they did at Coney Island Hospital is they gave her the clot buster to start breaking up the clot because it was in her brain.
Okay.
And NYU Langone is the number one hospital for stroke without question. They took her over to NYU. She went under surgery, brain surgery, to remove the clot immediately upon her arrival. And the surgery took some time, but she came through well. She was conscious. She never lost consciousness, even when she had the stroke. So she's doing as best as she can. But what I would tell people, my main thing here today is to just speak about advocacy, because my mom is a heck of a fighter and her own best advocate. But for the first time in our lives, she was out the ability to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty scary because she could understand everything that was going on, but she couldn't speak for herself. Mm-hmm. So my brother and I had to step in as her voice. I've done that before, but only as a backup. This time I had to speak for her, and it's not easy. You know, I would say to folks, if you don't have a certain rapport with your close family members, you know, immediate siblings or parents, make sure you have certain conversations. Yes. And not wait until a medical disaster happens, because things could go downhill quickly. You know, doctors and nurses and hospitals are not, or institutions are not always forthcoming. They will not always act in your best interest, even though they may think they are. And you have to know what that person would want. You have to almost be able to speak as if you were that person. And, you know, the first thing they let us know is nothing's guaranteed. You know, do you want us to resuscitate your mom? And my brother looked at me. He immediately said, we've always had these conversations. Mommy does not want that. So okay. She's DNR. So they put the bracelet on her for that. And they immediately wanted to know all of her medications. I used to keep a list of her meds. I didn't have that with me, but I was able to give them enough of her history and get them in touch with her dialysis center, or better yet, have the dialysis center fax me her most recent medications, because they would know. So if someone is on medicine, know the medicines by name and the dosage. Okay. That's very critical, because my mom's been hospitalized a lot over the years. And when we go into that emergency room, it's like clockwork. Not only am I going to tell you, I'm going to give you a piece of paper so there are no mistakes with everything you need to know about her. It's important to know each other's family history. I know in some cultures we don't talk about a lot of things, but you know, at this day and age, everything's on TikTok, Instagram, social media. There's no need for secrets. Mm-hmm. Know your person's history. You know, if they've had any surgeries, that is important, because those are the first things they will ask you when you go into the hospital. Do you have a history of smoking, alcohol, substance abuse, any surgeries, any allergies? And God forbid, if your person cannot speak, you better know it, because the better you know it, the quicker they can act and get that person treated for whatever they went into the hospital for.
Was anybody there to guide you? Was there anybody there at the hospital level to guide you and say, okay, you know, because when you're in there and it's emergency, sometimes you may have information, but you can't think. Was there anybody that's appointed to you that helps you in that situation from a medical perspective? No. And, you know, unfortunately, it wasn't our first rodeo. I've had to be, I have to go to my mom to emergency rooms multiple times. So it's almost like clockwork. And I know some people may panic, but if you can, try not to panic. I think it's a trait I got from my mom. She was like cool as a cucumber, you know, even in storms. So I tend not to panic. And if I do lose focus, my brother is always the backup. And I want to say this, no matter how smart you are, or no matter how smart you think you are, or no matter how good you are at speaking up, always have a partner.
because there'll always be something that you did not ask. Don't go it alone. You know, my brother's 3 hours away, but during the course of my mom's hospitalization, we had to train the hospital that if you speak to me, you get him on the phone at the same time. You don't speak to one without the other, right? We were crystal clear. We were crystal clear, all right? Because you're not going to tell me something and pressure me to make a decision. So it got to the point that they would say, do you want us to loop out and have someone, you know, that I would say is like your ride or die person, right? That can speak for you if you do get nervous or panic, or that person can say to you, Yolanda, you know, Francine, take a minute, you know, breathe and let's walk through this, you know, quickly, what have you. But there's not usually anyone there to guide you. You have to know it and feed them the information and tell them how to treat your person.
Right. That's important. Tell them how to treat your person. Yeah. Yes. And have a partner. That's awesome. Is there anything different that you had to put in place now after your mom had gone through this second part of her illness?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I had to put in place, may seem simple to some people, but NYU has 24-hour visitation. So I was spending the night initially because my mom was in really bad shape. She could have easily choked to death because she lost the ability to control her airways and to swallow. So a few times she was foaming out, and they didn't have someone to sit bedside with her. And, you know, the crazy thing is when they first moved her from recovery and placed her in a room, they put her in the second bed and there was a curtain drawn. So she was out of eyesight to any of the medical staff. So I stepped out of the room one day to talk to the doctor, and the person visiting the patient in the first bed ran out and said, your mom's foaming out at the mouth. And we ran in, we had to suction her. It happened another time. So I you know, approached the nurses and I asked them, can you move her to a bed that's at the front so that you can see her? Because she's going to die. You already made it clear that she can choke to death or get pneumonia because all of that fluid can go down the wrong tube. And then the pneumonia could take her out. So they basically told me, you know, we'll see what we could do, no guarantee. Right? But the person in the first bed was able to walk, ring the buzzer if they needed help, and speak. So I had to go back and say, why would you have the person who's able in the front bed and a person who's totally unable to help themselves or ask for help in the second bed? So, you know, they said, we understand, you're absolutely right. And at 4:00 in the morning, I stayed. They moved my mom to the first bed. So one thing I'll say, Francine, you really have to be a person's voice and not be afraid. Even if you are afraid to speak up against institutions or facilities, when your person is on that bed and their life is on the line, you have to get the courage to speak, because 3 days after the stroke, we were approached by one of the neuro team members, and we were basically told, your mom's never going to come home. She's never going to speak, and she's basically a shell, and told us that we should basically consider hospice. And her vitals were always good. From the moment she had the stroke, her vitals were always superb. They didn't even have to give her oxygen, but the doctor, in a nice way, tried to pressure us to do hospice. The other thing I would say, when your person's in the hospital, ask a lot of questions. Ask a lot of questions. And do not be afraid if someone's impatient. Tell them to speak slowly. Tell them to repeat if you do not understand. Do not nod your head and you don't know what they just said, because it will backfire on you. I asked for a meeting after we were told about hospice. I asked for a team meeting because we had to meet with a number of different doctors, because you had a lot of people involved in this stroke team. And when I asked for the team meeting, I asked of a doctor who told me in the very beginning, we don't have a crystal ball and it's a wait and see with your mom. But the other doctor told us it's a done deal. So my brother looked at her and he said, you're not God. Let's wait and see what he has to say. And they had us come into the room for the meeting I requested. I asked for a coordinated team meeting so that I could have a representative from each medical department that was a part of this team. And we were met with a chaplain, a palliative care social worker, and a palliative care nurse.
That's
So
it.
even though I asked for, that's it. So they brought us into a death meeting.
But yeah,
And we kept our cool. We were very upset, but we kept our cool and we let them know, we'll get back to you. Don't make decisions because you feel pressured, right? Make sure time is on your side. You control the clock. Unless they tell you we need a decision right now or it's a done deal, you control that clock as much as you can because sometimes hospitals need beds. You're dealing with an elderly person who had a stroke. She's an amputee. She's on dialysis. Look, let's just get this over with. So in a nutshell, to wrap this part of it up, my mom also, they found a mass in her abdomen. And before the stroke, for 2 weeks at home, she was having something going on where she couldn't eat much. She absolutely refused to go to the hospital. She had a mass in the abdomen and they suspected that it was pancreatic cancer. So we know that pancreatic cancer is the fastest moving cancer that will take you out very rapidly. Our mom has always taught us that. She worked in the hospital 37 years. So my brother and I had to make a decision. If it is pancreatic cancer, will we put her through any other treatments? And we made a decision again together that we would not, right? If it's pancreatic cancer, we may have to consider the hospice. But there was a test they needed to do to make that determination. They tried to bypass that test and send two or three different doctors in to give us different information. And we stood our ground. And we wanted to know if she has this test, is it invasive? Is it non-invasive? What harm would this test cause? So we asked them 1,000 questions that they probably weren't prepared for. So we had one doctor who was like a godsend. Reverend Johnny Ray Youngblood of Mount Pisgah always talks about saints in Caesar's Palace. She was just incredible. And she said to us, "You're absolutely right. I will order that test because we need to be as clear as possible." And thank God we did that because it was not pancreatic cancer at all. She had an infection in the stomach. So while my mom was at the hospital, she also developed stage 3 wounds on her backside, which were unbearably painful for her.
Yeah.
We didn't have a good experience there, but we had to, again, maintain composure so that we were clear on what we needed. All I could say is I looked at them one day and I said, "You need to realize I'm her voice, I'm her eyes, I'm her ears, and right now I'm her heartbeat. So when her heart beats, so does mine. So you will listen to what I'm telling you. That is my mother on that bed. And if it was your mother, would you do what you're doing?" So we had a few nonviolent confrontations, at the hospital because I had to really, really advocate for her. And Francine, at one point, I asked my mom, did she want to fight? Because she's been through a lot of medical battles. And I let her know, my brother and I, we always tell you, "Mommy, fight." And a parent's natural instinct is to fight if that child says fight. And I said, if you don't want to fight, it's okay. You have every right. This needs to be on your terms. I said, we're not going to tell you to fight at all. This is between you and God only. You don't owe any explanations. If you choose to fight, we'll fight with you. If you choose not to, we will honor it and let you have your peace. But you have to tell us what you want to do. And at one point, my mom wanted to let go. And she basically let me know no more. And I called my brother, and he wouldn't accept it. He said, I'm not going to accept it. I said, okay, I'm just letting you know. And I put her on the phone with him, and she was waving goodbye. And when we hung up, he said to me, but she was waving. I said, it wasn't hello. She was trying to tell you goodbye. She was saying goodbye. That's why it was so different. And my brother came in the next day, and you see her for yourself. And he came in the next day. They watched the basketball game. She couldn't speak, but she was, because she loves basketball. And he told me, no, she wants to live. She wants to live. And so be it. That's why you don't make those decisions by yourself. You have a partner that you work with. And today she's going strong. She's at Sheepshead Bay Nursing and Rehab.
Okay.
It's been a long battle. It's been a long journey. Her wounds are healing, but it will take time because she's diabetic. But she's on a feeding tube, and I'm sharing this. It's private, but it's not, because we have to educate one another.
Yes.
She's on a feeding tube, and we are praying that that won't be forever, but she's already beat the odds, and she's at a rehab facility where she was before when she had the amputation. And even with that, I had to do battle with them because within 2 weeks, the speech therapist basically told me that she can't do anything and there was no use in doing any therapy with her. And I had to let her know she's only been here for 2 weeks and, we're not going to count her out. She goes, yes, but she can't do anything. And I asked her to come into the hallway. I said, don't speak like that in front of the patient because she can fully understand what you're saying. I said, but let me also tell you who she is. And I ran down my mom's history and what she's done in her life. So therefore, you don't get to say what she can and can't do.
Right.
Because before you knew how to walk, she paved the way even for you, right? So I found out that they tried to cancel out her therapy with Medicare. So once they send in a report to Medicare, even though she's eligible for a certain amount of coverage, Medicare will cut off the coverage because the facility says that the patient is not making progress.
Oh.
So as good as they are, folks, you have to stay on top. You can't, until your person is healed and they're in a stable place, you have to be relentless. And you may get tired and weary, but God will give you the strength. Your family will give you the strength. Your village will give you the strength, and you keep going. So my mom had a physical therapist who was like the best over there. And when he saw her come back with the stroke, he said, we're going to get her back because he worked with her before. And he came in one day and told me, it's my last day with your mother. And I said, why? Oh, I don't know. They make decisions. I can't say. I said, okay, I know what it is. I said, they're going to write her off. So I went to the social worker and I wanted to know her status for therapy. And she said, oh, your mom's therapy ends on May 2nd. And I said, why? She said, she's not making progress. I said, well, I need to speak to the director. So I spoke to the director and she basically said, sometimes family they don't want to accept what the reality is. So I requested a meeting. And when I went into the meeting, it was not good because they had already made up their minds. And after the meeting, I sent a 9-page letter to the grievance officer and the facility director. I could have said what I wanted to in 2 pages, but I purposely did a 9-page letter. And you're going to read it because if you stop reading, you don't know what was in that next paragraph. So I had another meeting with the heads at the facility. They tried to 9-person team on me, and I had to be very clear. My brother and I spoke in advance, and I knew what questions I needed and what I needed to say. So when all was said and done, they restored her therapy. She has all of her services back in place, and she has the best therapist again. Great. So right now, I let them know, now it's truly up to her and God, because you didn't try to play God. And I let them know in that meeting. And one of the guys, he was just baffled that I said the things I said about the facility in the letter, He was so upset, but that wasn't my problem. My facility? Yes, your facility. Absolutely your facility. Really? Yeah.
But people don't let people know, sometimes these things go on and, you kind of try to trust the doctor and officials and the professionals. And then you feel that they're going, you just assume they're going to do the best that they can and you don't know. And then sometimes, you just have to push it. You just have to push it. And, you have to keep your person in mind, what they need and stuff like that. And a lot of times, if you don't know their history, if you don't know their background, if you don't know what they've gone through and the challenges they've already had and overcome, you may not, be able to speak to that and to push them to do the right thing.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. You've gone through.
And she's doing well.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I would say this. Always keep your phones out. You know, we talk about the young people recording everything.
Uh-huh.
It's good to just record because there was one day, the first day they put my mom in a wheelchair. She rolled herself with one arm. She turned.
Uh-huh.
When she
Okay.
didn't want me to take her somewhere, she held onto the railing on the wall so I couldn't move her. And they told me that she couldn't do anything. And when I asked them, "You're telling me she can't do anything, but you never told me what the goal is.
Right.
So what is it that you're expecting her to do?" "Well, she should, maybe be able to roll herself in the chair." "Well, let's go to the footage."
Uh-huh.
"Oh my God, we didn't know."
How come they didn't know
You
though?
know,
How come they
they
didn't
may
know?
have. Right, right.
Right.
They said she couldn't open her mouth, and I have my mom on video saying, "We want water," right? And she's answering me back. She
Okay.
said, "Okay." Just the other day, she told me she wants a Bible. So she's coming along, and I let them know she may never walk again. She may never speak as she used to, but if she can have a quality of life, I want her to have the best shot. I'm not asking you to work a miracle, but I want you to give her, my exact words to them were health equity,
Okay.
right? Health equity. That's what we want. We want her to get a fair shot. And then when she has a fair shot, we take it from there. But you don't get to write her off. And she worked 37 years to earn her medical coverage and make a decision that she's not making progress after 30 days.
Hmm. Right.
So you have to be willing to speak, not be afraid, advocate, and definitely know the person's background. Francine, the last thing I would say, know that person's business,
Mm.
insurance, banking.
Yes.
We don't like people to know stuff, but I tell you what, if you don't know it, there's going to be suffering.
Yeah.
Health proxies, power of attorneys, there are things my mom and I started that we didn't finish. It was started, but there might have been something missing. And that's why your village is strong, because there's a member of the village who I won't mention by name, who came to my rescue and said, "I'll take care of it for you."
There you go.
And it allowed me to move and do different things I need to do. And finally, keep copies of all IDs, keep
Mm.
copies of everything,
Okay.
medical cards, driver's license, birth certificates, have everything you can possibly have, because when my mom was transferred from one hospital to the other from dialysis, that's 3 locations within an hour, her wallet was lost.
Yeah.
And mostly everything was in that wallet. Keep copies of all of their documents. Know what insurance policies they have, because God forbid they cannot handle that business. You don't want any policies lapsing.
Mm-hmm.
Know
Yep.
where they do their banking, what those accounts are, because if you don't have that, other people will control that information and you will not have access. So it's very important. It's not enough to be the sibling or the child or the parent.
Right. You have to step in and step up.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult. It's very difficult. But you and your brother, thank God you have each other.
Yes. And did I tell you that my brother got a kidney? He had a kidney
All right.
transplant recently.
Yes. Awesome. 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 That's wonderful. That's a
Yes. So in the
blessing.
midst of
All
our
of this,
storm,
that's a blessing, right? Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my
And my
God.
mom coached him the entire way while he went through his dialysis journey. She coached him, and I was able to go to the hospital and tell her he got a transplant. Well, he was having a transplant, and then show her video footage of him the next day, thanking her for all that she's done for him. So, yeah, things are, in spite of it all, we have so many reasons to smile. And my mom she's in good spirits. She's funny. She hasn't lost her sense of humor. So it's good.
Oh, that's
If she
awesome.
closed her eyes tomorrow, my brother and I would be at peace. We wouldn't like it.
Right.
We would hurt, but we would be at peace. I used my story to make those particular points, and I think I covered pretty much everything.
Yeah, you did. It's so much information and so much helpful information. It's very important. Sometimes, we know, what we're going to do or what we want to do, and then we don't actually do it. Like we start something, we don't finish it. We start asking the questions, but you feel that they got uncomfortable, and then you just let it go for years. But it's important because we don't know when that sickness is going to come. We don't know when they're going to need us to speak for them.
Yes.
We don't know when their mind is going to go or their physical body is going to go. So just putting these things in place and having, your partner. That's so
Yes.
crucial because I did it kind of alone, and it would have been amazing to have a partner, a brother, a sister, or cousin, or whatever,
Yes.
to help and give you that kind of support and that other side of it. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that unfortunately,
Yeah.
one of the things is that it's a fight. You're fighting for their life. And that's
Yes.
a fight, and that is so important. So you can't put that into other people's hands, even if they're professionals and they're doctors and whatever. You can't put that into somebody else's hands because they don't know your person like you. They don't love
They
your
don't
person
know.
like you.
No. And you have a lot that's going on in the medical field since the pandemic. So you have the shortage of nurses, and then you have nurses that are just coming out of school that don't yet have the wisdom, and then they're training the interns. So many things were happening with my mom because they didn't know. Having a village before crisis is very important because there are some sisters from our church that came through for me in such an amazing way that I could trust to sit with my mom, and they would sit overnight sometimes.
Awesome.
When I couldn't stay overnight, they covered my mom to make sure that she was watched because there was neglect at the hospital. I told the doctors when they first rushed her in, I said, if anybody's for this fight, it's her, before they did the surgery. I said, if anybody's for this fight, it's her, and I had no shame in telling them, that's my mom.
Yeah.
That's my mom on that bed. And I don't like if you don't like what I'm saying to you. That is my mom. I only get one. She gave me life, and I'm going to make sure that hers is extended if I can.
Awesome.
So they knew that I was not apologizing. I'm pleasant, but I'm not going to apologize for fighting for my mother. I'll show you a picture of her. You let me know if it comes up. But this was, I don't know if you'll get it clearly. This was her first day going outdoors. I don't know if you could see it. Tell me.
Oh, I can see it. Yes.
That's her, my brother, and my little Ariel. So yeah, she's coming along. We get her outside. We do painting. We do music therapy. She's singing, even though it's not coming out clear. You have to, you know what that person will want. You know what they love. You know what's going to bring them to life. So I don't expect the facility to do it because they don't have the capacity. Right. So I come in, I do her art therapy and all of those things, and she loves it.
And I thank you so much. Thank you for coming on Autumn is Here, but also thank you for sharing your story so openly and so candidly, and just caring enough for other people that may be in this situation, that may be afraid to speak up, may have questions, and they don't know how to actually approach them, to call for a meeting. Some people don't even know that they can call for a meeting.
Absolutely.
So this is so much valuable information, and I'm so grateful that you took the time to be on the show and took the time to be here.
I gotta share something with you. So as vocal as I am, there were times that I was uncomfortable because I knew what I had to go in to do. My mom was a fearless warrior. That woman would go up against the President of the United States to demand what my brother and I needed. And growing up, folks would say, oh, you sound like your mom. You're just like your mom. As a kid, oh, I'm not like my mom. And, you go through your teenage years and you idolize and admire your mom, but then you want your own identity. And as I watched my mom battle so much through life, I said to myself one day, you ain't like her. You're not built like her. You have some of her DNA, you have strands of her DNA, but you can't be her because she's just built different. And I thank God that I have some of her in me. For the first time in my life, when my mom wasn't able to speak, it was the first time I saw myself as her. And I found this in a gift shop. I don't know if you could see what it says. Or should I turn it upside down?
I open my mouth and my mother comes out.
That's it.
Awesome.
That's it. Because sometimes I walk out of the meeting and I would go, whoa, I knew I paid attention all through life, but she taught me how to advocate. So I owe it to her. She taught my brother how to advocate, so he owed it to her. And I thank God for both of them, because I wouldn't be as strong as I am without the two of them. So I really, really hope this story and the information helped. And if there's anyone who is going through and they need support or help with advocating, you could feel free to share my information with them because I would make myself available.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah, they don't have to do it alone. And I've been to the rodeo with hospitals a lot of times, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, things happen for a reason. And maybe this is here for, something to happen later on that you're going to be able to help other people, outside of this. So this is awesome that you're able to do that. And I wish you the best. And I'm praying for your mom. And I'm so glad that she's doing good and doing better. And that, God has the last word. Not a doctor, not anybody else, but God has the last word. He hasn't,
Thank you.
Spoken yet. So I'm grateful for that. And just keep going, keep believing, keep being strong. You're doing the right thing. And blessings to your brother and his new kidney. That's an awesome blessing, and just keep your head up and keep hoping and keep loving and just do what you can do. And you'll be at peace with whatever. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. And please continue to do what you're doing because what you're doing is amazing. I don't know that there are too many other people out there doing this type of Zoom or podcast, what have you. So I really hope it's reaching the masses, and whoever does tune in, share all of the recordings with someone else, because the information that you provide through the folks that you have on and just your will to extend yourself to do this, thinking about others and having others in mind is a blessing, not just to me, but to, I'm quite sure, thousands of others that tune in. So I can't applaud you enough. Anytime you call, I will always avail myself.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it so much. So listen, you just keep doing what you're doing. I pray God to be with you and your family, and I will speak to you soon. Okay.
Absolutely. Stay blessed. All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Have a good one.